Welcome to Great Sand Dunes National Park in Colorado. In this video, we're going to talk about what we did in a few days at Great Sand Dunes National Park and some things you should know if you're planning to visit this park.
We're heading into Great Sand Dunes National Park for the first time. I'm very excited. This is the park that I was most looking forward to on this trip because I've never been here and it's someplace I've wanted to go for a very long time.
We made one stop at the Oasis before entering the national park. The Oasis is a little shopping market and you can rent sandboards there. You need to pick up your sandboard in the morning and return your sandboard, I believe, by 4:30 or 5 p.m. I will leave a link to the Oasis location and website below this video so you can check that out before you come to the park. When we entered the national park, the first thing we did was visit the visitor center and learn a little bit about the park. Here's the view from the visitor center. Look at those tiny little people compared to those dunes. After the visitor center, we went to the massive parking lot where everybody parks and then you walk over to the dunes. There is a creek called Medano Creek that runs and sometimes has enough flow to cover the area between the parking lot and the dunes. And it looks like a lot of fun. You can actually ride your rafts down and then walk back up, ride your raft down, but unfortunately, when we came to visit, it was just dry, walking from the parking lot right over to the dunes. Medano Creek was still there. We could see it when we walked further north later. So after we walked over to the dunes, we waxed up our sandboards. They said it's a little bit better if you wax the boards, they'll have a little bit less traction and kind of help you make it down the sand. We tried out sandboarding for the first time. Check it out.
Alright, I just had a massive fall and there's sand like literally in my eardrum, which is disgusting, but I'm good. It doesn't hurt that bad when you fall because it's like so cushiony. There's so much sink from all the sand is not compact, so it's okay.
We got pretty tired from sandboarding. It takes a lot of energy to hike up the dunes because the sand sinks a little bit as you're hiking up there. So you know how difficult it is to walk barefoot in a really sandy, soft beach that's flat? Imagine that, except it's like a 45-degree slope. It takes a lot of energy to get to the top of these hills. Another thing I didn't really expect when I visited this park was all of the wind. And the wind is my arch nemesis when I go outside. I love being outside, but I just cannot stand strong winds. Doesn't matter what the temperature is, I just really don't like wind. And it's a very windy place here because of the wind carrying all of the sand grains to deposit in this spot. This is just a spot that gets a lot of wind. You can see all of the little sand grains bouncing off the dunes with the wind as it carries it, and some of these tiny little grains of sand are smacking you in the legs and the arms and the face when the wind carries it across, and that's a little bit unpleasant. So a lot of people will wear like a bandana mask to cover their face with some sunglasses to keep the sand from hitting their face. After we put the sandboards away, we had a very exciting, fun little four-wheel drive over to the northern part of the dunes. This is a four-wheel drive path. It's like a one-lane path with a couple little pull-offs, and we had a lot of fun on that, but we had an F-250 with four-wheel drive. I don't recommend taking a smaller vehicle that doesn't have four-wheel drive. You might get stuck. So we took our truck over, found a nice little parking area there. We saw some people doing horseback riding, which sounds like a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I'm allergic to horses, so we will probably never do horseback riding. But if you're into horseback riding, this would be a great park to do that. I will leave a link below this video in the description section if you want to look more into horseback riding at Great Sand Dunes National Park. We continued over. Here's where we saw Medano Creek. The water was freezing cold, like numbing cold on your feet when you walk through the little river there, and then we hiked up the dunes and just kind of played in the sand a little bit more. It was a little less windy in this area, so I liked that. And we kind of just ran around and had fun. It feels like a giant play gym. I mean, it's literally, you can run wherever you want on the dunes. There are some really, really tall dunes that are like 750 feet tall that people will hike to the top of. But we didn't have that kind of energy. Once we hiked up a tiny little hill of the dunes, we were like, wow, this is tough. It's very energy consuming. After playing around in the sand, we packed up our stuff and returned the sandboards. The next day we came back for sunset. We did a hike outside of the park on BLM land, and then we just drove down to watch the sunset.
Did you like the sunset?
It was magnificent, especially on a sunny day where that golden glow of light just warms up the dunes. I did make a painting of this one too because it was so beautiful and dramatic. I loved it, had to paint it. And that basically concludes our time in Great Sand Dunes National Park. I think if we came back to this park later in the year, more in the summertime months, we might do more hiking in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. We basically just stuck to the dunes when we were there. We visited this park in April 2021, and the weather was, 50s to 70s outside during the day. The sand was not too scorching hot on our feet yet, but the Park Service said that the sand can get 140 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer months. So you probably can't go out there barefoot in the summer months. Keep that in mind as well. Thanks for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching our time in Great Sand Dunes National Park. I had a lot of fun, but I wasn't expecting that wind. If you guys come to visit this park, a couple things you should know before you go is that it might be windy, so you may like to prepare by wearing like a bandana or a face mask with some goggles. It can get very hot, especially on the sand, so you might want to pack thick socks or some type of footwear that's not going to burn your feet when you're walking on the dunes. And depending on the time of year you visit the park, Medano Creek may be running down right between the parking lot and the dunes, and you might want to bring a raft with you and just have some fun on the water too. If you guys want to find out more about Great Sand Dunes National Park, I'll leave a link to the National Park Service website below this video in the description as well. Have a great day, guys, and happy traveling! Bye-bye!